Hello everyone and welcome back. Now in this video I'm going to set up a router firewall on this device over here that we put Proxmox on. If you remember, I said that Proxmox is something that lets you install an operating system within that computer, so like a machine within a machine. So I've downloaded pfSense, that's the firewall. I've got it on this USB stick here. So what I'm going to do is put it into this laptop here, just copy the file off here and transfer it from here over to the machine running Proxmox. So I've just put the memory stick in here and this would have automatically mounted it. Now mounting just means it's made those files accessible from a directory on here. So to find out where it's mounted, just type mount. Okay, and we can see down the bottom here, that's the device I just plugged in, and it's mounted on media CWNE88 blah blah blah. So we want to go to that directory, okay, which you might think of as folders, but they're called directories. So to change directory, just use CD for change directory. And we're looking for this directory here, okay? So start with the slash and then you go media, but instead of typing the whole word media, you can just type a couple of letters of it and then press tab, and it'll fill in the rest if there's no ambiguities. And you can do the same from then on. And we're in that directory now. So we're in that directory on this disk, and I want to see what's in there, so I want to list the files. So to list, just do ls. Okay, and that pfSense, that's the one we want. Okay, so I want to now transfer this from here over to there. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to use a thing called secure copy. Now that's based on SSH, which I'll get into in a future video, but for now we just want to secure copy that file name, and as I said, same as usual, you can just type the first couple of letters and press tab and it'll auto-fill the rest for you. And we want to copy that to this machine. Now we have to give it a username and an IP address, so we want to copy it as root, okay, because that's the username on Proxmox, at the address of that, which was 192.168.0.1, and just put a colon. Now that'll put it in the home directory of Proxmox. So when I press enter, we'll get this message here, similar to the certificate warning before, saying we can't be sure that is who it says it is. That's what it's saying there. So it says, you sure you want to continue? You have to type in yes. Okay, now the password for Proxmox. Okay, now once that password's in, it just transfers it through our beautiful network here over to that host over there. Okay, now once that's done, we can unmount this device, but we have to get out of the directory we're in because we're currently in that. So we'd go umount for unmount and media thing, but it won't let us because we're in that directory. If you remember before I said to see what's mounted, just type mount and you can see it's mounted in this directory here. But we're currently in that directory. So if you just do CD for change directory by itself, it just takes you back to your home directory. Okay, that's what this little tilde means here. So now you could unmount the media mount that we've got there. Okay, so that unmounts it. And now you're good to take that out. So we're done with that, and I've copied it over to here. So now what I want to do is connect to this machine over here because we've got no keyboard and monitor on it, but we still want to access it. So this interface is called a shell, okay, and I want to connect to a shell on this one. So what I can do is run a program called SSH, which is secure shell, and connect over there as the user, which is root at 192.168.0.100. And if I'd never connected before, it would have asked me for the to verify the authenticity of it. But because we did that secure copy, which uses the same protocol, we've already said yes. So it already knows that one. So go straight into the password part. Okay, password's in. Now we're in. So I'm in the home directory of Proxmox now, as you can see over here. That's the username and where we are. Okay, so if I list with ls what's in here, you can see the file that I just copied over. Okay, and that's what I want. Now, an ISO file is an image of a disk, a CD, DVD, okay, and that's what we're going to pretend we're installing from. But this GZ at the end means it's zipped up with gzip. Okay, so we have to unzip it. So command called g unzip. Okay, again you can just type a couple of letters and press tab, g unzip, and then the file name that we're talking about. So a couple of letters, then tab, and that will unzip that. And when that's done, we'll just have the file that's not zipped up. So it'll just be an ISO ready to go. So if I do ls again to list it, bang, just the ISO. Now we have to put that in a particular directory on here for Proxmox to access it. So what we'll do is we've got to move it. And the command for move is mv. So we're moving what file? Well, we're moving this file, pfSense. So pf tab, and it fills it in. And it's going to a directory which is in var. And I just press tab all the time just to autofill to let you know you're still going the right way. Lib, tab, vz, tab. Now I'm not sure which one here, so I press tab a couple of times. Gives me my options. And I go, okay, it's a template. I remember that. Tab a couple of times again. ISO, tab. And that's where we're going to send it. So when I press enter now, it's moved that file right into this directory. And we're going to have a look at that if we want to go to that directory. So you go change directory, var lib vz template ISO. And we can do our ls there and list what's in there. And there it is. Okay, so I know that's in the right spot, so we can select it to install as an operating system. So now we'll go to Proxmox and connect to it for using the web browser. So 192.168.0.100 port 8006. Now there's our little warning saying that we can't be sure it is who it says it is, but we know it is. So again, username, root 88, and we're in. Okay, so now you can see on the left what we will have is our virtual machine. So these are operating systems installed in little virtual computers inside that one. So I'm going to go ahead and create a VM. Okay, and I'm going to give it ID 254. Name, I'll give it pfSense. Operating system. Now this is where you get to choose the CD device. If you remember in the other videos, when it was booting up any computer, you can press F12 and decide what you want to boot from. And one of those options is a CD. Well, on here, there's no CD in it, but we can pretend there is using an ISO image file. And if we pull this down here for the ISO image, we can select the one that we just copied over there because we put it in that directory that it uses. So put that in there and just go next to these things, and most of them will be default. Hard disk, the storage where it'll be, and the size of this virtual disk that we're using. So I've just put 32 gigabytes for this. Okay. CPU, one CPU. Memory, 2048 meg. Network, mostly default for now. Okay, so we'll just start that up. Oh, sorry, we'll just finish creating that. So right now it's creating a virtual machine inside that computer there. Okay, so now I've got a virtual machine listed on the side here, pfSense. And I'm going to set that up as a router in a minute, but what I want to do is add another network device. Now, this gigabyte device itself only has one physical network interface. Now, we call this a NIC, which is Network Interface Card, because in the old days there used to be cards plugged in, but they're still called NICs. Okay, so we've got one there, but I want to set this up as a router. So that's going to be my internal network, and I need something to connect externally to the internet. So I'm going to use this USB NIC, okay? It just plugs in the USB port and gives it another network interface. So I'm going to plug that in, but before I do, we want a few details about it. So if I go back using Alt-Tab to the terminal, okay, I'm still connected to Proxmox, as you can see over here. So I'm in that machine there. Now if I want to find out what's going on when you plug USB devices in, you can do a command called dmesg, okay? And a whole lot of stuff happens, okay? Do it again, dmesg. What happens now, if I plug a USB device in and run that command again, okay, we'll see something got added. We see that where are we? A USB network device went in, new USB found, blah, 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 USB device strings, ASICs, that's the brand, okay, and down here it says Ethernet, okay, so it's a new network device. But what we really want to know is the name, so it's ASICs, blah, 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 USB device. Now I want to remember that because we're going to use that in this virtual machine. So if I go back to Proxmox and have a look at pfSense, just before I start it up, I'm going to add that so that particular USB device, instead of running on Proxmox, will pass it through to pfSense. So what I'll do is I'll just add a USB device. There it is. And we get to pick one. And what have we got? There it is. That's the one we just plugged in. Okay, so I'm going to add that. So now, instead of this gigabyte thing making use of this, it's going to be passed through to Proxmox. So now I'll start Proxmox, the virtual machine. And to see what's going on, I press console. Okay. Now the console is like the monitor of the virtual machines. It's like a virtual monitor. Okay, that's the console that we're viewing, and now it's booting up. And if you have a quick little look while it's doing this, you'll see some things here. See this UE0 Ethernet address? USB Ethernet? That's what we just plugged in. So UE0 is what it seems to be calling this Ethernet NIC here. So we'll remember that. So anyway, to set it up, accept the agreement here and do an install. Default key map, auto disk setup, for those of us who are dumb and simple, and off it goes. So it's a powerful system, this pfSense, but it's pretty easy to set up. Okay, it's now finished. Do you want to make any manual modifications? Click no, and reboot. So now pfSense is installed and it's rebooting, and this time it won't boot from that ISO CD image, it'll just boot from the hard drive. Okay, so we're doing some setup here. Do we want to set up VLANs? We'll pick no for now. Okay, now what's the WAN interface? The WAN is the wide area network, so that's the outside network, like the internet. That's the external one. Okay, so our WAN interface is going to be the one I just plugged in, which, if you remember, we saw was UE0. So that's UE0. The LAN interface is this one on this side, and it's the only one left to choose, so it's that VTnet 0 there. Okay, does that look right? Yes, it does. Okay, so it's setting that up now. Okay, so it's up and running. You can see that it's got an IP address on the LAN side, which I'm going to change, and it's got one on the WAN side. So what I'll do is I'm just going to change that LAN address to one that's going to be usable for us. So I'll just do 2 for set interface IP addresses. The one we want to do is the LAN, so it's number 2 there. And we want to set its address. Now I'm going to use 192.168.0.254, which is why I called it Virtual Machine 254, by the way. Okay, the bit count mask, we're just using 24. We'll get into all of this at a later time. Now the upstream gateway, don't have one for the LAN, so we'll just press enter. No IPv6. Do you want to enable DHCP server? Not yet, but we will get to that. So for now, we'll just pick no. Do you want HTTP as the web configurator? No, just leave it HTTPS. And it's reloading with that config. Okay, so now it gives us the browser address to point to. Okay, so we will do that. Go to the browser, Control T for a new tab, HTTPS //192.168.0.254, and here we go. Now the same warning as Proxmox gave us, because we haven't verified that this server is what it says it is. We know it is because we just set it up, so we can go advanced, accept risk and continue, and now we log in. Now when you first log in, it's admin and then pfSense for the password. Okay, and now we do some more setup. So just click next and go through this. Okay, so the host name, I'm going to use pfSense all lowercase because I like it like that. Domain, we'll just call this tutorial. That'll be our domain. Primary DNS server, secondary, I'm going to leave them as they are. Okay, I'm just not going to worry about them, and just let it be given from the internet service provider when we get one. So just go next. Okay, time server, yep, to put the time zone in here, which is Australia, Brisbane. Okay, now the WAN interface, that's, as I said, that's my external one for the internet. That's going to be DHCP, okay, which means it's going to get it automatically, and we'll talk more about that in future. So just leave that as it is to get that automatically. Okay. And the LAN IP, we just set that a minute ago, so that's right. Admin password, just set your new password. CWNE88. Okay. And the last step is to reload. And here we go, finish. So that should be reloading, or not. Now if we go back to using just Control Tab, we can look in Proxmox in the console and see what it's actually doing, if it's reloading or not. It doesn't look to be, so it's still there. It hasn't reloaded, but that's fine. Obviously didn't want it too badly. So again, Control Tab to get back to there. I'll just close this down and keep it here. So at the moment, there's no WAN interface, but we have a friendly ISP that is providing it on this cable here. So if I plug that in, okay, it would normally work, except there's a little trick with these USB NICs because they're not perfect. There's something we've got to do to get that working. So if you go up to System, and then Advanced, and then Networking, just scroll down here to Hardware Checksum Offloading. We've got to disable that. Now that's bringing some work back into the computer that a NIC would normally do, but because they're cheap and nasty, they don't do it very well, so we need to disable that. So we'll save that. Okay, and we should be right to go. So if you just click on the main logo up here, you'll see where we are, and hopefully soon that'll get an IP address now. But what I will do is restart the system, because it wanted to restart, but it just didn't do it. So just go to Diagnostics, Reboot. Okay, and yes, we want to reboot. Okay, so go back to Proxmox with Control-T, look at your console, and see how it's going. And now it's doing the restart. Okay, it's rebooted. Now you can see there also the WAN interface has an IP address this time, 10.0.0.1, so that's good. Anyway, we don't need to look at this CLI anymore. We can go back to the web UI. We have to log in again, of course. Okay, a bit of accepting there, and a bit of closing there. So there it is. There's our internet address, and here's our LAN address. Okay, now if I come back to the CLI on this machine here, at the moment I'm still connected to the remote host, so I'll just exit that, okay, because we SSH'd into that one. Bring it back to here. We know we're back on this machine here because we're at Debian, which is what we call this one. So if I go to ping something like Google, which is a good test, just 8.8.8.8, okay, it says network unreachable. That's because this computer only knows about its local network here. It doesn't know that there's a whole internet out there. So we've got to set up this machine here, the router, as its gateway. Okay, so we'll just go back to the network settings up here. Go wired, it's connected, and the wireless settings are there. But if we just have a look closer at those settings, IPv4, we see there's no gateway. Okay, now pfSense is going to be our gateway, our gateway out to the internet. So if I put 192.168.0.254 in there and apply that, I have to disable it and enable it again because it's a bit funny. Now if I ping it, it's there. Okay, so now what that means is this computer, to get to a network device that's not on our network here, it has to go through some sort of gateway, and that's what a router's doing here. Okay, so we've just pinged Google. If I ping Google by name, it doesn't know where it is. Okay, so I pinged its IP address directly, but if I just want to ping a name, I have to tell it how to get to that IP. I have to tell it what google.com is. So if we go back to these network settings here and have another look, you'll see there was another option down here that said DNS. That means domain name service. Okay, so I'll give it one called 1.1.1.1, which is run by Cloudflare. Okay, apply that. Okay, just disable this network and enable it again. So now when I do ping google.com, it can ping it by name. Okay, so now this machine has internet connectivity. So if you go to a web browser, you can just Control-T, sorry, for a new tab, google.com, and it should come up. Okay, so now we've got a host on the network connected through a router to the internet, and it all works properly as it should, and everything's beautiful. Now in the next video, I'll go through how to make a few things automatic so you don't have to do as much fiddling about with other hosts, because obviously you wouldn't want to do that with 1,000 network devices that you want to connect. So look out for the next video, and if you have any questions, just put them in the comments below. But until then, take it easy.